Thank you for joining us today. Please take a moment and visit theramp.org to get connected with us. We want to know what God is doing in your life through this ministry. Also, if you would like to support the ministry financially, you may do so there. Now prepare your heart to hear from our team. We pray this will enrich your walk with God.
Hey guys, welcome to our Ramp podcast. My name is Sonya Stewart. I'm part of the Ramp leadership team here, and I am here with my friend Emma back.
Hello.
And we are so excited that we get to be together today. We're excited that we get to hang out with you, but we're actually kind of excited that we get to hang out with each other.
See each other in our real eyes in person.
Real life. We are just getting back into the flow of kind of post-quarantine here. And so this is one of the first times we've been together, I think, outside of anything else. So how have you been?
Good.
Yeah?
I loved quarantine. It was very restful and relaxing. I'm good. I'm tired of cooking.
Yeah, I had to cook a lot as well. But you know what? It was okay. Did you eat too much? Because I ate too much.
Way too much. And now I'm down to just cooking the same thing every day.
It's time to get back in the routine.
Yeah, I told Matt, my husband, if you get tired of eating this, just let me know. But this is what I want. It's easy. I'm cooking the same thing every day.
And we're just going to do it.
Because I'm tired of using my imagination to come up with a different meal every night.
Yeah. Yeah. We had fun. I mean, we have just been hanging out at our house. You know, we have lots of property, and
amazing
we have
house.
My husband.
Wish I could hang out at your house.
I wish you could hang out at my house. We started a garden this year, which we have not done in a few years, and it has been really fun. I call my husband, I call him Farmer Brad sometimes, because he has just gone all in. It's like we are growing all the things. We have so many tomato bushes, and we have bees.
I just got some honey last week.
Oh, and it's really great. It's really fun. So we just had a really great and restful quarantine. And I think there were some moments we looked at each other and we were like, this is the way to live.
How can I keep this feeling when it's over?
Yeah.
That's what I've been trying to figure out.
Yeah, it's been really great. But I think in all of it too, the Lord has also been really sweet to us, and He has been speaking and just been really kind to us and teaching a lot of things. And I think that's something that we can talk about today, even on our podcast, is some of what the Lord has been teaching us, because I think a lot of us have been in it's just this season of unknowns and kind of this limbo of, well, Lord, what are we doing? What are we not? And there have even been times for me personally in the quarantine that I've been like, Lord, what is next? I need to know what is next, And He's like, well, just wait a minute, just wait, just be in this moment, just trust me and just wait. Yeah. And sometimes that can be really hard, especially when you don't know the end result and you are waiting on something to happen. It's like, something's supposed to happen. You have a word, you have this promise, and what are things going to look like coming out on the other side? And I think that's what a lot of people are wondering right now, even coming out of this quarantine, is what is this going to look like on the other side? What do I do in the midst of this?
I know, even just the practical, planning a vacation or something that I'm usually always kind of thinking ahead. It's like, you can't even, I don't know if this place is going to be open. Are we going to have money? I don't know.
So many unknowns.
It's just and it's weird to not have just even certain things that are so normal to me to plan ahead, or even if it's just in my mind, I'm thinking we might go do this in the fall, but there's just no certainty really in anything, and it's a very interesting place to be.
It really is. And in that uncertain place, I guess that's where we really do have to just depend and put all of our hope in the Lord. Wait on the Lord and be of good courage.
Yes.
And He will strengthen your heart. It's like, sometimes that's easier said than done, because I think for some people in this quarantine season, it has looked like the waiting has looked like death and delay and trial and tribulation. And so how do we, in the midst of that, I guess the question would be, how do we wait well? In the midst of what looks like completely the answers look completely opposite than what we expected and what we have been praying for. And all we hear from the Lord is just be with me and wait with me and trust in me. Like, how do we wait well? You know, like, I know you and I both have had some experiences with waiting seasons in our life. And so why don't you elaborate a little bit on how we can wait well, or give me your thoughts on what do we do with this? Like, we're in this season, we've been waiting, and some of us are still waiting. So
are we ever not
Are
waiting?
we ever not waiting?
That's how I feel.
True.
My life is just one big wait. It's like, if we're going glory to glory, it's like, okay, we got through this glory, but now we still got to wait for the next glory. It's like, I feel like I'm always in a big process. And if you feel like you've never gone through a process, then get ready for the biggest process of your life. So I feel like that's going to be your process, dealing with not having a process.
Yeah.
But there's so many interesting things, so many seasons and scenarios. And I was thinking today, preparing for this, like, there's one season in particular, but like when I look back, there's so many things that I was like, why, God, please, right now, it's not fair. But it's like, when I look back, I'm like, thank you, God, that you did not give me what I was wanting for when I was begging for it, because it would have killed me. It would have crushed me.
Yeah.
I wouldn't have been strong enough to carry it. And so it's just amazing, hindsight's 2020, like looking back and just like, wow, I was really, really wanting that. And I'm so glad, God, that you didn't listen to me. And that all the things that you worked out through me, and just the process, it can feel messy sometimes and hard. And the older I get, and the more seasons I go through, I'm always like, all right, God, help me to get through this as fast as possible, because I've learned the hard way. Yeah. And just like, okay, God, what test am I needing to pass to get this season? Or it's almost like kind of going to the gym, and like, it's not fun, but you look back in a year and you're like, wow, I wouldn't have been able to lift these weights back then, but I worked and I worked and I worked and I worked.
I wouldn't know what that's like.
Well, I don't really actually know either.
But
in my mind, I do.
I get what you're saying.
But just like, like building strength.
Endurance.
Yes.
And the ability to carry.
And just seeing all the things that he worked out. And, really, you can't read one Bible story without seeing a season of waiting.
It's really
Jesus.
True. Yeah. And it's, it's like, I love what you're saying, because really, ultimately, it's not about the end result. It's about what happens to us in the process of waiting.
Yes.
As we do build that endurance, and we have those hard moments, when we get on the other side of that, we're going to look back and we are going to be able to carry that, so that when something like that happens to us again, we'll be able to carry that weight and handle it. And a lot of times what God is doing in us during the process and during the wait is so much more valuable. Than this end result that we think is so precious and so important.
Yes.
And really, he's like, all along, it's more about what I'm walking you through than it is what you're going to have when you come out on the other side. Yeah.
I heard Bill Johnson say one time, we love breakthrough and God loves process.
Embrace the process.
Yes. And just, like you were saying, there's just, and like, just to reiterate, like there's so many things when I look back, it's like, wow, what I was begging for really is heavy and a lot. And it would have crushed me. Even just if we get super spiritual, his glory is weighty. Yeah. And we teach this I teach it to our worship students at RSM a lot, like, to carry the weight of his glory is a huge responsibility, and it will crush you if your foundation is not strong. And we think we've got it all together and our foundation is super strong, but one little crack in the foundation, if you put weight on it, the crack's just going to get bigger and bigger and bigger. And so just as funny as that may sound, like, Lord, please don't let me have a crack in anything. Because I do want his glory. I do want the responsibility. I do want what he has for me. But it really just comes down to trust too, which is easier said than done. Trusting the Lord.
Well, now you were telling me too, I would love for you to go into a little bit of the story of David.
Yes.
Like you were talking about his story is such a beautiful picture of waiting and what happened in him through all of that. Could you kind of talk about
Yes. So David is one of my favorite things I've been studying a lot lately. And we all know the story, and I won't go into all the details because we probably all know them most. But if you think about his life, especially before he became king, which is a large percentage of what we're reading in the Bible and the Psalms and all the things, it was anointed to become king, which before that, he's in the field, and who knows what was going on in David's mind in the field. He could have been waiting for something for a long time, and he's just sitting in the field worshiping Jesus, a little boy, taking care of sheep, and his family's in there having dinner, and they're not even inviting him. The most important man in the country is coming to their house, and they don't even invite David. We don't even know really what was going on in his mind. But then he's anointed to be king, and he doesn't become king till like almost 20 years later. And then even then, it's not even the whole kingdom.
Yeah.
And it's just incredible. David's story of just there's just so many life lessons in it, and just the waiting and the being faithful. And, I love the part of David's story where he goes to the palace, he's with the king, and he's playing for him. Saul's having the dreams, and they bring David in. David had already been anointed to be king. He's in the palace. He's in the place, literal place where he knows he's supposed to be one day. And he doesn't try to overthrow, or he doesn't have a bad attitude, or at least it doesn't say he does. Maybe he did, but I don't know. He doesn't go in there and like, Saul, I was anointed, and he waits. He literally is in the palace and then goes back to his house, just back to the field. And he's just waiting. And we all know the stories of so many times he could have killed Saul, and he had every right to, and he didn't. It's just so amazing. And there's so much in that too, of even God, what he was working out in David. There's even a story where David goes and is in a safe place, and God calls him back to where Saul was attacking him, because he knew if he could get David in a place where he was constantly relying on him, then when he gets to a place where it's safe, that will be what his life is, relying on him. And he needed a king that would do that, So it's just amazing to see through all of that what David was being built to become the king that God needed him to be. If he had been king when he was anointed, he would have just been a little 13-year-old shepherd boy who all he could do was take care. I mean, granted, he was killing bears and lions, but he wasn't the king that the nation needed.
And I love what you're saying in that. What I'm hearing is David responded. He didn't respond perfectly in every situation, but he responded well in the waiting. And just like you said, he was anointed, but he went right back to the field. He was in the king's palace, knowing his destiny, knowing the call in his life, but he went right back to the field, and he was faithful in the waiting. And I think that can be the hardest part for a lot of us as humans, because we do want things so instantly. We want that instant gratification.
Yes.
But if we are faithful in the waiting, then our reward is so much greater. And really what it boils down to is that walking in humility before the Lord and submitting ourselves to God.
Yeah.
Because if we're submitted to him, then the waiting becomes ultimately much easier, because we are submitting our lives to him. And even if we don't understand, our response is what matters, when we respond in faithfulness and in humility to his word.
And I love what you're saying, the submit to God, because that's actually one of the verses I had. Submit to God, resist the devil, and he will flee. And I feel like one of the key parts of that verse is the submit to God part. And I think we kind of overlook that, and we just immediately go into resisting the devil. But how exhausting. And we're not strong enough. Yeah. So we're just getting beat up. We're getting black eyes and bloody noses constantly because we're not strong enough to resist the devil, because we haven't submitted to God.
That's good.
So just that, it can be hard. But I believe the Lord strengthens us and has grace if we will position ourselves to receive the strength and receive the grace, and we're not just constantly like David could have done, just trying to overthrow everything. Yeah. But if we would just sit back, be comfortable in what God has spoken over us, and trusting him, then we can resist the devil, and then he will flee. Yeah.
And then I know for me personally, looking back on seasons of waiting in my life, some of the hardest seasons in my life have been seasons of waiting. But then when I look back on the other side of them, they were some of the sweetest seasons, because I can see how near the Lord was to me. I can see how good he was to me and how faithful he was to me. And I think I'll read that verse now too. I want to read during one of my seasons of waiting, it was probably one of the most intense of my life. The Lord gave me this verse because I felt like I was in such a valley and such a deep place of sorrow, And so in Psalm 84 verse 5, it says, "What joy for those whose strength comes from the Lord, who have set their minds on a pilgrimage to Jerusalem. When they walk through the valley of weeping, it will become a place of refreshing springs. The autumn rain will clothe it with blessings." And in this, they will continue to grow stronger, and each one of them will appear before God in Jerusalem. So it's like you were saying, we build that endurance and we grow stronger in the Lord. And I love what it says about setting your mind on a pilgrimage. It's like, I see that God has given me a vision and an end result. I may not understand, and I may walk through a valley of weeping, so to speak, but looking back on the other side of it, I'm going to be able to carry the weight. And it's gonna be a refreshing well and a spring that I can draw from for years to come. So, if you are going through deep hurt and pain right now of not understanding and in a place of a valley of weeping in this waiting season, just hold on and trust in him and set your mind on that journey, on that pilgrimage, that you're not going to give up. He is in the waiting, that Christine DeMarco's song. Take courage, stay steadfast. He is in the waiting. God is in the waiting. And you're going to look back and it's going to be this really, really sweet season of life that you can look back on and help so many other people, in the long run.
And what were you saying earlier? Even I love if you would go into the Lazarus story and all of that. Because even you saying he's in the waiting, I love that, because that story shows so much of, he wasn't just flippant and he had a plan.
He did have a plan. Yeah, I love it. One of the other things in some of my seasons of waiting that I've been through, and I've been through so many, I feel like, God gave me this in John chapter 11, and we've all heard it, a million times, of when Lazarus had died and Mary and Martha were begging, for Jesus to come when Lazarus was sick. And Jesus was just saying, hold on. It says right here in John chapter 11, it says, "When Jesus heard about it, he said, 'Lazarus' sickness will not end in death. No, it happened for the glory of God, so that the Son of God will receive glory from this.' So although Jesus loved Martha, Mary, and Lazarus, he stayed where he was for the next 2 days." And sometimes our waiting, it seems like it's ending in death, really is the kindness of God and the mercy of God, because it's not going to end in death. It's going to bring him bigger glory.
Yeah.
So when it seems like your whole situation has died completely and there is no hope, Jesus really is maybe he's just holding off for a minute to say, just wait, because I love you. I'm going to wait to move on your behalf, because when I do move on your behalf, it's going to be big and it's going to be huge and it's going to be explosive, and I'm going to get all the glory for it.
Yes.
Because when you let something die, only God can revive that. When it looks like there is no hope, then only God is the hope. And it's because I love it. He says, so although he loved them, he stayed. And he loved them, and so he waited.
Yeah.
So sometimes he's waiting,
Yeah. And I love that, because it's really cool. I felt like I had a word a few years ago from the Lord. And this is like the cool biblical side of putting pictures to my word, because it was a whole picture of seasons and trees. And the winter season, a lot of times, obviously, we're all like, oh, I'm in the winter season, because it looks like death. But those trees are not dead.
Right.
The leaves that fell off are dead, but the trees are not dead. Their roots are actually going deep. The winter season is so vital for plants, and I feel like we see a lot of like, oh, winter, I'm so dead and dry, but it's not. It's actually a resting season and a waiting season, and letting your roots go deep, so that, just like the Lazarus story, when I actually think, people say spring, but I'm in a journey of spring is actually it's a great season, but it's a working season.
Yeah. For sure.
And I think you go from winter, the dead, and you're letting your roots go deep. Then you move to spring, which is the working and your digging and your planting and your watering and all of the things. So when you get to summer, there's a harvest, and summer is the fun, the pool days and the eating the fruit that you've worked so hard, the fruits of your labor, all of that, you know. Mm-hmm. And I think some of us, we resist the winter season, and then we don't ever do the spring. We just want the summer.
It's true.
Or we sometimes just jump the summer and then we immediately are in fall, which is fall is a wonderful season too, but it is actually the dying. It's the season where things are falling off, you know? And so if you can just embrace everything, God works everything for our good. Mm-hmm. And so things that may seem dead and dry and cold, may feel like you have this huge blizzard in your life and there's no leaves anywhere. Really, it's a resting and a waiting and a quiet, letting your roots go deep so that you are strengthened to get to the spring, which is the working season. Mm-hmm. And then once you get through the working season, the spring, then you get to enjoy summer and have your pool days and barbecues.
And it's really crazy how quickly it seems like that happens. It's like we wait and wait and wait and wait, and then it's like suddenly everything happens. And even like I was talking about Farmer Brad, my sweet husband, but he did that. It's really cool when you can watch that physically happen. And around our house we had all these planters and all these flower beds, and he was planting the garden, but everything was just brown. You know, going into the whole quarantine season, everything was just dark and it was just brown. And we even had some plants that we had planted last year, and we were like, are they okay? You know, are they gonna make it? And even when the weather started warming up a little bit and we felt like they should be coming up, we felt like some of these things should be sprouting, and we were like, oh, you know, we may have to do something here. We may have to, and we were just to the point of having to like take action to like maybe dig them up and start over with the beds. And then all of a sudden, it seemed like overnight, these plants just busted out of the ground. And now it literally, like we walk outside and we're like, where did this stuff come from? You know? And it's these beautiful flowers. And then we have all these veggies growing, and we are starting to enter that summer season where we are reaping a little bit of that harvest. But it really did seem like it happened just overnight, you know? And that's what happens with God. It is like, we're like, Lord, where are you? Am I going to have to do something? Do I have to intervene? You know, no, we don't. He's God. But it's like we feel like we need to do something. Mm-hmm. And then all of a sudden, just suddenly, he shows up and this life just springs forth. And then there's no stopping it. You know, it's just this beautiful, glorious thing that you get to enjoy.
Yeah. And even just the rain too, if you think about all that. And just, there's actually the Sarah Groves song. I love Sarah Groves. She has a lyric that says, rain is no measure of his faithfulness because he withholds no good thing from us.
Oh, that's beautiful.
Sarah. But I was thinking about that too. And just like how we can think rain as like this sad, dreary thing, but it'll be one of those things where it rains. It could be a horrible storm, and you wake up the next morning, and you know all of the all these things just grew. You know, so it's just amazing. And have you seen the movie The Secret Garden from the 90s?
No.
Oh my gosh, it was one of my favorite. I got the cassette tape when I was little, and it came with a locket that I would wear. But anyway, just watch that movie. There's so many spiritual things in it. The Secret Garden alone, just that name is amazing. But there's a part where she goes into the garden. It looks completely dead. And she's wanting to just kind of dig up everything and throw it out. And the little boy, Dickon, who I think is like the Holy Spirit, he comes in and he says no. And he takes his knife and he scrapes one of the twigs. And he says, look, and it's green inside. And he says, this is called wick. Wow. And he says, look, it's not dead. And I just love that.
Wow.
And then they work and they work and they work. And then there's this one beautiful scene where they open the door and there's just roses and flowers everywhere. Wow. But it's just really cool because, like I said, it looks like it's dead when really it's not. And the roots are just going deep.
Wow. I love it so much. So I think that's it. You know, I think if we could leave you with anything today, it is wait through those winter seasons, and we really are beginning to see the garden grow.
Yeah.
It's growing. I know we keep referencing like songs and movies, but Jason Upton's new album, I don't know if you've heard it, it has a song in there called This Garden's Gonna Grow.
Oh,
and it's so beautiful. Go listen to it. You want to listen to it. And that's just it. I really do. I believe we're in a season of the gardens are growing, and spring and summer and the harvest is coming out. And if you are in a season of waiting, we want to encourage you with hope today to keep going, to keep trusting, to keep waiting, just to pull up your mind and to go for it. And is there anything practically you want to go into really quick?
Yeah.
Maybe.
There was a couple things I had thought of. One, even with this garden thing, get in community and accountability. Ask the Lord who those people are that can speak into your life. Because I think if we're going with the garden reference, we all have weeds that we've got to pull out, and we need people helping us do that. Second, this is something I do with our students a lot, and it's very practical, but for me, it has been literally life-changing. So 2 things really fast. One is you just ask the Lord to show you, if you were a tree, what season are you in? And I kind of just gave you an example of what they have different meanings. For some people, spring is amazing new life. It is a new life season. For me, right now, spring always seems like the working season. But, you've got winter and then spring, summer, fall. They all have their different references. And the Lord will reveal to you what that means for you personally. But I love it because it's just a quick visual that He'll give you. He will always give it to you if you listen. So if you're a tree, what season are you in? And the second one, this one is amazing. You ask the Lord to show you, if you're a house, what part of the house is He working on? He's always remodeling and updating and renovating your house. So, because He has money and can do that.
Because He's got
and can make it look amazing and have that dream kitchen you want. But so if you're a house, what part of the house is He working on? So it could be, for me, I'll be very personal and honest. One time He was working on my roof, and I knew it was my covering. He was just working on that. Then you ask Him, where is He with you? Is He helping you work on the part of the house? Is it just you and He's watching you? Is He standing beside telling you, or is He like with His hands helping you? What tools is He giving you to work on? That has been the tool part for me. Every time I ask is very, very specific. And a lot of times one time in particular, it did not make sense. I was like, what? You don't even use that tool in this part of the house. But when I looked it up and started researching the tool, it was actually a jackhammer. And anyway, to use a jackhammer, you have to have 2 people to operate it and do all these things. So anyway, It was really cool. And then the last thing is, so you ask, what part of the house is He working on? Where is He with you? What tool? And then you ask, where is everyone else that you're close to in their life? Are they helping you? Are they watching you? Are they not there? It could be lots of things. So this for me it's really practical, and I'm a very visual person, and it's amazing if you literally just sit, the Lord will open all that up and show it to you, and it's just really great to help you in the season you're in.
That's awesome.
And see the practicals of what He's doing.
That's incredible. So. Well, we are so glad that we got to hang out with you today and just talk about some of the things that the Lord has taught us. And we do want to bless you with that, with hope today and encouragement that He is in your season of waiting.
Yes.
So we pray blessings over you, and we pray that you have a great and wonderful day.
We hope you've enjoyed this message from The Ramp. For more information on this message and other teachings, visit us at theramp.org/store. Connect with us for all the latest news on services, events, and more by following us on Twitter, Facebook, and Instagram. God bless, and we'll see you next week.